Hello, my dear students. Welcome to our video tutorial in Mathematics 9. We are now in week 3 to 5 of your modules now. In this video, we are going to learn about angle of elevation and angle of depression and on how to solve problems related about these topics. So, sit back, relax, and learn. This is Teacher Mael again at your service. And before we will proceed to the computation of angle of elevation and angle of depression, let us understand first what does it mean by angle of elevation and angle of depression. So let us consider this figure here. So we have here this angle, and the vertex we have here the eye. So ang I mao na ang atong reference point. So kani siyang broken line, this refers to the horizontal line of sight. So mao ni ang ato ang reference, ang ato ang mata. So straight sa imuhang pagtan-aw, that is what we call the horizontal line of sight. What do you mean by line of sight? Line of sight means it is an imaginary line that connects the eye of an observer to the object being observed. So, this is the horizontal line of sight. So, mo ni mo ang eye, kung straight ang imong pagtanaw, mo ni siya ang horizontal line of sight, ang atong basihanan. Our eyes, it can look up and it can look down. So, if you're going to look up, this line going to the object that you're looking on the top or above, this line here is what we call the line of sight above the observer. So dara ka diri gatan-aw, dana ang object na sa babaw. When you look up, this angle here gikan sa horizontal line of sight going to the line of sight above the eye of the observer, going to the object here. This area here, this angle here is what we call angle of elevation. So, how are we going to define an angle of elevation? The angle of elevation is the angle from the horizontal to the line of sight, the observer to the object above. So, kung muhangad na gani ka, meaning to say, ang angle nga ma-form ana sa horizontal line o sa line of sight sa observer is what we call the angle of elevation. So, this area here is the angle of elevation. I hope naklaro na. And when you're going to look down, this line here, this is the line of sight below the observer. So, ang imong object na nasa ubos. So, the angle between the horizontal line and this line of sight below the observer, this area here is what we call the angle of depression. So, muduko na gani ka, ang angle ana niya nga ma-form gikan sa horizontal line of sight is what we call angle of depression. So, how do we find angle of depression? So, the angle of depression is the angle from the horizontal to the line of sight, the observer, to the object below. So, again, kung muduko na gani ka, kana siya nga angle below sa imong horizontal line of sight is what we call angle of depression. So, I hope naklaro na ang angle of elevation and angle of depression. So, kung muhangad, elevation. Kung muduko, depression. Okay? So, di dito magsigig duko-duko. Kuya, dahil magsigig duko-duko, no? Depression. So, angle of depression. Okay, we have here examples. Now, let us identify first if we really understand the angle that represents angle of elevation and angle of depression. And we have also to identify the line of sight. So, we have here 4 illustrations and we are going to identify them according to the angle they form. Okay, in number 1, we have here a tree. I think somebody climbs on the tree, and this line here is the horizontal line of sight, and he or she looks below here. So, We are referring to this angle. Angle between the horizontal line of sight and the line of sight. So what angle is that? That is angle of depression. Okay? So angle AOB represents angle of depression. And our line of sight is OB. It looks down or below. Okay? So angle AOB. For number 2, we have here, for example, we have here a kid. Nitanaw siya sa kite. So, ang iyahang horizontal line of sight is this one. So, kay nihangad naman siya. So, kani siya nga angle. Unsay tawag ana? That is angle of elevation. Kay ni-look up naman siya. So, meaning, angle ZYX, that is angle of elevation. And our line of sight is at YX. Okay, is at YX. Number 3, we have here a tower. Yan ay nitanaw sa tower. Na siya diri ang tao. Nitanaw siya dito sa tumoy sa tower. So, kani nga angle. Unsa man na siya? It represents angle of elevation. So, POA represents angle of elevation. And our line of sight is at OA. Okay, we have number 4. Naa siya'y building. Ang tao na adiri babaw sa building. So, mao ni ang horizontal line of sight. Nitanaw siya sa ubos. So, mao ni ang angle nga nahimo niya between the horizontal line o ang iyang line of sight nga nitanaw sa ubos. So, this represents angle of depression. Okay, so angle POR represents angle of depression. Yang iyang line of sight is at OR. Okay? I hope nasabtan. Angle of elevation, you will look up. Then, angle of depression, kung naa sa below ang objects. Okay? So, let us start now with the computation or the application of trigonometric function in dealing with problems about angle of elevation and angle of depression. So, we have here example 1. A hiker is 400 meters away from the base of the radio tower. The angle of elevation to the top of the tower is 46 degrees. How high is the tower? So, how are we going to solve for this problem? Now, the very first thing for us to do is to illustrate the problem. Atong i-drawing so that we will be guided kung which part of the problem ang gipangita. No, mas dali siya. Now, dili kinahanglan nga nindot kay ang drawing, pwede ra og representation lang para masabtan lang siya. So, you have here, a hiker is 200. So, we will draw a radio tower. So, for example, we have here a radio tower. For example, mo ni siya ang radio tower. Just a merely, kuan lang siya, representation lang sa figure. Shall we say this is the tower, and then a hiker is 400 meters away. So, for example, naadari ang hiker, butang na to, mao ni si hiker, ang distance niya from the tower is 400 meters. Okay? And then, the angle of elevation to the top of the tower, so meaning, nitanaw ni siya dito sa babaw. Tanaw siya dito sa babaw. The angle of elevation is 46 degrees. Now, the question is, how high is the tower? So, meaning, ang atong gipangita, kani siya dere, ang gitas-on sa tower. So, if we're going to apply the 6 trigonometric ratios, so unsa man ang atong gamiton ana to find for the height of the tower. So again, recall dia balik sa SOHCAHTOA, no? Sa SOHCAHTOA. So mao man ni ang angle nga given 46 degrees. So ang kaning x dere or the height of the tower, this is our opposite, this is our adjacent, and kani siyang line of sight niya, this will be our hypotenuse. Kuha. So, kay mao man niyang angle, so this is our opposite. This is our opposite side. This is adjacent to 46. So, mao niyang ato ang adjacent side. And right angle man na siya diha. So, mao ni ato ang hypotenuse. Okay, hypotenuse. Now, how are we going to solve for x? So, unsa ang trigonometric functions nga naay Ang atong gamiton kay si adjacent ug si opposite. So unsa man tong naay kuan, so atong ibalik bi. So that you will be guided. So katowa. So asa man ana ang gamiton na to opposite ug adjacent. So we will be using the tangent, no, to solve. So to solve for the height of the building, we will let x be the height of the building in meters na siya. So therefore, for our solution, since we are going to look for the height of the building, so we will be using tangent 46 degrees is equal to opposite, which is represented by x, or the height of the building, over 400 meters. Okay. Now, this tangent 46 degrees, understood nga over 1 na siya. So, what we're going to do next is to cross multiply. So, 1 times x, unahan na to si x, balhin na to siya diha. Then, that would be equal to 400 times tangent 46 degrees. Okay. Now, ang sunod na tong buhaton, kung naamoy calculator, scientific calculator, the better, o wala, sa katong previous ninyo nga modules na ay table dito, you can locate the value of tangent 46 degrees. So, atong hinahinahig simplify, so you copy 400. Kung naamoy calculator, pwede diretso ra. So, pila man ni si tangent 46 degrees. So, use your calculator or the table. That is equivalent to 1.0355. Mo nang iyang equivalent. Now, multiply 400 with the value of tangent 46 degrees, and that would be equal to 414.2 meters. So, therefore, the height of the building is 404.2 meters. O, perting taas ah. Okay? I hope nasabtan. Example number 2. We have here a building is 15.24 meters high. At a certain distance away from the tower, an observer determines that the angle of elevation to the top of it is 41 degrees. How far is the observer from the base of the building? Again, so that you will be guided, it is better to illustrate the problem. So, for example, we have here a building. Drawing taog building. For example, this is our building. Kani mo niya tong building. Okay? So, the height of the building is 15.24 meters. And the distance away, an observer measure of angle elevation. So, angle of elevation man, sa ato pa, naadiri ang observer. So, nitanaw siya dito sa building na siya 41 degrees. Now, ang pangutana, how far is the observer from the base of the building? So, ang pangutana, ang distance from here, dire. So, this will be our x. Sa itong first example, ang pangutana, ang height sa tower. But at this time, ang gipangutana is the distance from the observer to the base of the building. Now, if we are going to analyze, we have here the theta, we have here angle. This is our opposite. Again, this is our x, here is our adjacent, and this is our hypotenuse. So, mubalik ra gyud gyapon to ang previous nga discussion about sa 6 trigonometric ratios. Now, based on the given there, what trigonometric ratios are we going to use in order to solve the distance from the observer to the base of the building? So, again, this represents angle of elevation. Kinitan-aw man siya sa top sa building. So, again, we are going to use tangent, no? Opposite over adjacent. So, we have here tangent 41 degrees is equal to, unsay opposite niya? At this time, you have here 15.24, that is in meters, over x, which is the adjacent side. Now, this tangent 41 understood over 1, so you cross multiply. So, x times tangent 41, so you have there x times tangent 41 degrees is equal to 15.24. Now, we have to divide both sides by tangent 41 degrees and tangent 41 degrees. Aron, ang mahabilin, we can cancel that, understood, that is 1. So that ang mahabilin si x na lang. Okay? Now, using your calculator, if you have your calculator or if you have the table, kung na-calculate, i-diretso divide 15.24 divided by tangent 41, the answer will be 17.5316. So, our x, or the distance, by the way, the unit here, it is in meter. So, the distance from the observer to the base of the building is 17.5316 meters. So, kung wala mo'y calculator, tanawon to ninyo ang table nga nasa previous nga module, tanawon ninyo dito pilang equivalent sa pilang value ni tangent 41. So, i-divide ninyo ni 15. Then, you will get there 17.53. So, pwede na sa 2 decimal places. And the unit is in meter. Okay? Okay, let's have example number 3. From the top of a lighthouse, 29.5 meter high, the angle of depression of an observer to the boat is 28.5 degrees. How far is the boat from the lighthouse? Again, let us illustrate the problem. So, naako no'y lighthouse. So, what if this is our lighthouse? Kung mauni nga to ang lighthouse, okay, from the top of light, so, ang gitas-on sa lighthouse is 29.5 meters. In the angle of depression of an observer, so, angle of depression, so, lighthouse, so, this is the horizontal line of sight. And when you say angle of depression, so, from here, padong diha na di sa ubos, this area here is the angle of depression, and the angle of depression is 28.5 degrees. So, naa kuno diri ang boat, angle of depression kuno niya, tanaw siya sa boat, na siya sa babaw sa lighthouse, tanaw siya sa boat, so that is 28.5 degrees. And the question is, how far is the boat from the lighthouse? So, kani siyang dapita, mao ni ang gipangayo. So, this is our x. Now, how are we going to solve the problem? Remember, nga naa diri ang boat, so, kani siya nga angle may atong gamiton. Now, can we consider that this angle is equal or congruent to this angle? Yes, because kani siyang duha ka line, horizontal line o kani siya, they are parallel. And this line of sight here is a transversal. And remember that alternate interior angles are congruent. So, kung 28.5 degrees na siya, kani siya, 28.5 degrees po na siya. So, we can solve this now for the distance, no, of the boat to the lighthouse. So, how do we solve for x? So, maumani nga to ang theta na. So, theta opposite over adjacent. So, again, we're going to use tangent 28.5 degrees is equal to, yung opposite is 29.5 meters over okay, padayon ta, kaya na ay natagak 29.5 over x. Okay, over x. Then since we're going to solve for x, so what we're going to do next is to cross multiply, no? So x times, so i-cross multiply na siya, kani understood over 1. So that would be x times tangent 28.5 is equal to 29.5. Then aron matangtang ang tangent x na lay mahabilin, so we will divide both sides by 28.5. Taripod tangent 28.5. So we can cancel, understood that is 1. So ang mahabilin si x na lang. Okay? So using your calculator or table, inyong i-manipulate 29.5 divided by tangent 28.5. So the answer will be 54.33 meters. So that is the distance of the boat to the lighthouse. So 54.33 meters. Example number 4. An airplane is flying at a height of 4 kilometers above the ground. The distance along the ground from the airplane to the airport is 6 kilometers. What is the angle of depression from the airplane to the airport? Okay, so let us illustrate first. We have here the airplane. Ako na airplane o yung nag-fly. So, unsa na pag-drawing sa airplane ba? Okay, for example, this is our airplane. Hiwi. Kabaw mo drawing og airplane? Mura siya isda. Okay, shall we say this is our airplane? Airplane. Airplane na siya ha. Airplane. That is our airplane. Flying, and that is 4 kilometers above the ground. So, gikan sa ground, kung mao ni siya ang ground dire, mao ni siya ang ground. So, this is 4 kilometers above the ground. And then, the distance along the ground wherever is 6 kilometers. Okay, so, airport. Natay airport. For example, dire, mao ni siya ang airport. Okay, ito na lang isuwat kay nindot kay mo drawing. So, if this is the airport, the distance niya is 6 kilometers. Okay, 6 kilometers. So, what is the angle of depression from the airplane to the airport? So, kung mauni na ka diri sa airplane, angle of depression, so, nakanitan ako sa airport, no? So, kani siya diri, straight, kaning path sa airplane, pathway sa airplane, mao niyang ito ang horizontal line of sight. So, angle of depression man ang gipangita. So, this theta here is the unknown. So, how are we going to solve that? Now, nadari ang airport, yan nadari ang side. Kani siya, kung unsay distance, gikan sa airplane to the ground, kung 4 kilometers na siya, diri pod, kung mo-draw ta diha og vertical line, kani siya 4 kilometers pod na siya. Okay? Kung kani siya 6 kilometers, gikan diri padung diha is also 6 kilometers. Okay? So there we can solve now for the theta. So this is the theta opposite and this is our adjacent. So again, we are going to use tangent here. So for the solution, gamay-gamay mag-space. So we have here tangent theta is equal to opposite, which is 4 over 6 kilometers. Now, since we're going to eliminate tangent aron theta na lang mahabilin, we are going to multiply both sides by 1 over tangent, the reciprocal of tangent. Kanipod, multiplyan na to og 1 over tangent. Aron makancel na to ang tangent, ang mahabilin, si theta na lang. Okay? So, mag-iuna si tangent. Now, sa ato ang calculator, dili ta makakita og 1 over tangent. Kay ang equivalent sa 1 over tangent sa inyong calculator, makita diha is tangent to the exponent 1. Diba remember, kung dunay negative exponent, para mapositive ang iyang exponent, atong ibalhin sa ubos. Mao na nimo siyang 1 over tangent times 4 over 6 So if you're going to manipulate that one using your calculator, or inyo na siyang i-simplify, press shift tangent nga button. You have to press shift kay ang tangent negative 1 na man siya, wala man siya sa button, na siya babaw sa button. So you have to press shift or second function baron, depende sa inyong calculator kung unsay color sa kanisya, most of ang color sa inyong i-press, no? But usually shift siya, then tangent, dayon times 4/6 equals. So pila man ang answer na niya, that will result to your theta will be 33.69. So unsa may unit ani? Since theta ang gipangayo, so the unit is degrees. So therefore, the angle of depression from the airplane to the airport is 33.69 degrees. So that's it, guys. I hope you learned and understand about angle of elevation and angle of depression. So what is important here is you understand what are the 6 trigonometric ratios. Kabalo ka kanus agamiton si sine, si soka, o si tuwa, si sine, cosine, and tangent. Kay magbalik-balik ra gyud siya. And you know also how to identify the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse, no, the sides of the right triangle. So continue practicing, padayon lang, practice lang, keep on studying. Dahil sa math, ang buhay ay aangat. Thank you for watching, guys.